Transhumanism, Lecture 9. Uh, as always, we'll start with some news. This is mainly one of our seminar classes, so I'll switch off the recording while we have the seminar in the class here. I may just do a bit of lecturing at the end if we have time after the seminar. Okay? So, uh, what's happened in the last 5 days? Well, crazy stuff as always. So I told you just last week that Facebook Meta had secured a year-long contract with Nvidia to buy up all their graphics chips for AI. They just signed a 60 billion contract with AMD as well. They're the other major supplier of graphics chips. They're buying up all their graphics chips as well. Hmm? Exactly. Games consoles and PC gaming are doubling. PlayStation were planning to release the PlayStation 6. They can't release it because they can't afford memory and graphics cards. So they were talking about 2020, late 27, 28. They're now talking about 29 when they release, a whole year back. So yeah, uh, there's more money in AI than there is in games at the moment. So they're buying up all of the uh, graphics chips and memory as well, which is another issue. So yeah, Meta not only bought, well, OpenAI, you remember, bought out most of Nvidia's stock. Meta bought the rest of it, and now they bought out most of the AMD as well. Um, Databricks, very interesting company. Just got 5 billion new funding. The company's now valued at 134 billion. What do Databricks do? Uh, they're like a consultant. They go into your company, and they build agentic AI for your company to do the job of people in your company. They're expanding so fast, it's insane. Um, The two biggest companies doing this are Databricks and Snowflake. They're both valued at way over $100 billion each building agentic AI. So they just got more funding uh, last day or two. OpenAI released two new tools in the last few days, one called Harness Engineering and another one called Frontier. Harness Engineering and Frontier are their agentic AI, but for bigger companies. So big corporations like, I don't know, Disney, Apple, whoever can now apply agentic AI. These are frameworks to apply agentic AI across whole huge corporations, oil companies, whatever. So yeah, or governments. This was an interesting one. So Anthropic released its new uh, code writing, vibe coding software a few weeks ago, and they started releasing the agentic side of it, which caused all this stock market downturn. They've just added a new feature to their coding. Does anyone know what COBOL is? COBOL is an old computer language from back in the 80s, 90s. Nobody really uses it anymore, but a lot of the infrastructure is still written in COBOL. So people who can use COBOL are very highly paid because this infrastructure needs to be kept up. So if you can learn this very old computer language, you can earn quite a bit of money. But and the people who do most of this are IBM. IBM look after almost all the COBOL in the world. But Claude just released a tool that does that job now. Looks after COBOL and rewrites it and updates it. So IBM stock just immediately dropped. So, but the big news that came out this week, oh, so the other new tools that came out this week, Google introduced Paper Banana. They already have a tool called Nano Banana, which is their image generation. They've now released Paper Banana. What does Paper Banana do? If you're writing a report, it automatically generates all your diagrams and statistical plots for you from your report. It's amazing what it can do. Just came out this week, and they're all like really professional diagrams for any company or academic doing reports. Really professional diagrams. It's quite amazing. WordPress, the main tool of most bloggers, have just a few days ago integrated AI into WordPress fully. You now don't even have to write your blog. You can ask the AI to give me more font options, add a testimonial section, add a contact page, rewrite this to sound more confident. The AI is built into WordPress now, so that's going to change the face of blogging a little bit. You don't have to go into another tool to improve your text or whatever. It's all built into WordPress now. But the big two things that happened this week in terms of new releases, XAI, Elon Musk's AI company, released Grok 4.2. Grok was already at level 4, but everyone is saying this is, again, I haven't had a chance to really look at this, but they're saying it's a big update. But the big one that just came out, I was expecting ChatGPT 5.3 to be out, but it still hasn't arrived yet. But Google surprised everyone by releasing Gemini 3.1 Pro. So it's a new update to Gemini. Now, in the next module, one of the things we're going to be talking about is how we evaluate AI systems. How do we tell how good they are? And you can see this is one, you can see they said there's a big leap in core reasoning. And what you're looking at here is a set of AI models in the columns like Sonnet 4.6, which has just come out, GPT 5.2 over there, and the new Gemini 3.1 Pro. And down the left-hand side here, we have benchmarks. We're going to be looking at some of these benchmarks and how they work in the next module. But what I want to point out to you is that we had a set of benchmarks for AI a number of years ago, and AI just blew past them. So you can see that the ARC AGI 2.1, which is one of the major models, major benchmarks for AI systems, ARC AGI 1 was thought to be the test to evaluate an AI system. And all the AI systems within a few years started getting nearly 100% on it. So they made this exponentially more difficult test called ARC AGI 2. 1 year ago, no AI system had more than 3 or 4% on ARC AGI 2. Now look where we are. They were starting to get 30, 50, 68%, and now Gemini 3 has just hit 77%. What are we going to do? Make harder tests? We just keep making harder tests. And this one they call humanity's last exam. That once you reach this one, and again, 1 year ago, No AI was getting more than 2 or 3% on that test. We're already up at 30, 40% now. That's the speed these things are increasing at. But we'll talk more about these tests and how we evaluate AI in the next module. But yeah, so Gemini 3.1 came out. But literally, I started reading this article. I got down here and I'm like, what? It's getting 77 on AGI 2? That's crazy. Yeah. This interesting article, US companies are forming. This is an article just talking about how more and more US companies are collaborating with Chinese firms to bring those amazing Chinese robots I showed you into Silicon Valley and into the US. So all these different Chinese companies, Unitree is the big one, but UB Tech, Agibot, Limex are all forming collaborations with American companies at the moment because the Chinese robots seem to be a lot better than the American ones right now. There's been a lot of papers, a lot of articles since that Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise clip came out about Sea Dance, this app that the guy created that video clip from. He claimed he created it with a couple of lines of text, and people are questioning whether he did or not, or whether there was some extra work involved. I think they're missing the point. Even if there was a bit of extra work involved, this app will be able to do it next month. It's they're missing the point of what we're looking at here. Um, Anthropic have accused a bunch of Chinese AI firms, including DeepSeek, the famous one you may have heard of using what's called a distillation technique to steal data from its Claude chatbot. They use automated bots to talk to Claude and they are reverse engineering basically Anthropic's chatbot Claude. So this has just been come out in the last day or so, so we'll see what happens there. And this Pentagon Anthropic battle is still going on. Um, Anthropic, as I said, complained about their Claude chatbot being used by the Department of Defense in the kidnapping of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. And this battle has gone on, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, has called the CEO in to talk to him, and other AI labs are now debating whether if Anthropic pulls out of the $200 million contract, do they take over that contract? So there's a big, this story isn't going away. It's still a big ethical question about which companies will do this, which ones won't. So we'll see what happens there. CrowdStrike, uh, global internet security company, released their 2026 global threat report. What is interesting in this is that 90% of all attacks are now AI enabled. So AI is being used, and they're saying with the AI enabled attacks, they can get down a breakout of a new virus can be done in 27 seconds. So it's pretty uh, the threat is getting bigger, but the tools to protect us are getting better as well. But it's a very different kind of threat we have now than we did before. Another report that just came out, which influenced the stock market this week, is a think tank called the Citrini Research Institute, and they brought out this thought exercise called the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis, trying to predict what's going to happen with AI in 2 years. And the main point of this report was that in most countries, their economies are going to have to change because you will not have the same employment or types of employment as we have right now. And so they went through these scenarios, and this report has sent kind of shockwaves through the stock market as well. A couple of other things to worry about. Uh, Eric Schmidt used to be the CEO of Google for many years. He had a warning that came out a couple of days ago. He said the biggest problem in America due to AI is the fact we're going to run out of energy. We cannot support the data centers, and it takes too long to bring new power plants online. And he said, which is exactly what the Fed chair said last week, as well. The guy who was deputy Fed chair said last week as well. The energy crisis is going to hit us really hard. So again, not many people talking about this at the moment. Interesting article. We will be talking about different types of intelligence when we look at how we test if a machine's intelligent, but we often think humans have different types of intelligence. For example, just because you read a lot of papers on Greek history doesn't make you emotionally or conversationally intelligent. There are different types of intelligence. But what this article is saying is that most modern day chatbots have emotional intelligence, which is something we think of as profoundly human, because people are using them for support and relationships all the time now. So that's very different to something telling you how to fix your car. This is something you rely on for emotional support. Uh, and it's something we're seeing more and more of at the moment. So interesting article. But I'll finish with the most probably mind-blowing thing that happened this week. The AI summit in India finished on Thursday. And after the lecture last week, Dario Amodei from Anthropic gave a talk at that summit. So I'm going to play you a little bit of his talk and what he said, because it's quite astonishing. So this is the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, talking at the India summit. And this is where we are with AI right now, according to him.
My fundamental view is that AI has been on an exponential for the last 10 years, and as part of a sort of Moore's law for intelligence, and that we are now well advanced on that curve, and there are only a small number of years for AI models surpassing the cognitive capabilities of most humans for most things. We're increasingly close to what I've called a country of geniuses in a data center, a set of AI agents that are more capable than most humans at most things and can coordinate at superhuman speed. India is the world's largest.
So we are basically a few years away, 2, 3 years away from AI being able to do almost everything a human can do, better than a human can do at superhuman speeds, and coordinate those tasks. So, yeah, that's where we are. Again, not enough people are talking about this, that it's going on right now. Okay. Any comments or questions before we get to the seminar? I know, sense of existential dread every time you come in this class, I know, but
why people put a lot of emphasis to make the AI go like way smarter, basically like very advanced. But then no one actually take the time to solve the black box problem.
yeah, why do we make AI become more and more advanced without solving the black box problem? Yeah, we don't know what's going on. And do you know the only company that are spending millions and millions of dollars trying to see what's going on inside an AI? Anthropic. They're the only one who is actually doing core research on how AI makes decisions and what's happening inside their AI models. None of the other companies are doing it like Anthropic is. They're the only ones who are doing that core research. So they are trying to solve the black box problem. But the black box problem is an interesting one that we don't really know what's going on inside these things. And it's always been like that with neural networks, all the way back to the 1990s when they first started. But what people are talking about with the black box problem is it's not about the fact we don't understand what's going on inside. It's the fact that the AI cannot justify the reasoning for the decisions it's made.
Kind of like trace it. If the way we build the LLM model foundationally like different from them.
What do you mean?
Um, so my understanding is that because there's a black box problem because like we can't trace the reason why one event leads to another. But then like that means like in a way we have to change our perspective on how to solve this problem, right? Like we have to start from the beginning again and then like do the test.
Oh, it's almost like we have to go back to how we built the thing in the first place and start going back all the way through from the start. Yeah.
This black box currently we have, and then try to figure out what we.
The problem is these things are developing so fast. That's never going to happen. We're never going to go back and start really looking back to fundamentals and rebuilding them. What we have to do is try and analyze what we've got. And many of these companies, we all know that one of the major problems with AI is the hallucinations, false information, that happens sometimes. And so these companies are trying to find ways to give either some statistical probability or some validation of the results that are coming out so that they become more useful because it gives you wrong information, you know. As I said, the interesting article last week for me, the one I've been thinking about from last week was that one about the Hindenburg, that it's only going to take one serious accident where a chemical plant melts down or a or a plane crashes because of some problem with AI, and that may just create a sea change in how everyone thinks about it. About this idea, and maybe that will be. I know it sounds awful to say that a plane crash would be a good thing, but it may force the industry to regulate more and put more guardrails on what's happening, possibly. Yeah, but it is a problem. These things just pour out information and we've no idea if it's correct or not or how it got that information. And as these things get more and more complex, we know less and less. I think I said this before. Do you think anyone knows how this works? There's no person in the world knows how this works. It was designed by most of the different components in here were designed by AI alongside humans, but there's just no person who understands how all that works. We're way past that now. No one's understood it for years. All right. So I'm going to pause the recording and we're going to move into seminar mode here, and I'll start recording again if I do a little bit of teaching at the end. So yeah, our discussion went on for almost the whole class, so I'm going to finish the lecture here and there will be a full lecture on Thursday.